First came the words,
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
Then came the travel ban.
I call it extreme vetting.
But all this behind anti-Muslim hate crimes? Really?
I'm very fearful for my life.
No doubt, say these women.
It's almost like it was dormant and then it came out when Trump made it like the norm.
Fatma and Shahrukh, both Americans, both Muslim, both in the midst of an Islamophobic nightmare, and they don't know when it'll end.
I've had a situation where a young man was in, American white, whatever you want to call him, was in his big old tough truck, and I was at the gas station. I had my little one in the car, and he spit at me, and he's the one that mentioned, go back to Saudi Arabia and see if they'll let you drive. And he said, you're at my pump, and he started using profanity. I'm thinking, I paid, came back to my car, and you just pulled up to the gas station. And I cried the entire way home, took a different way home, and I didn't know what to do.
Fatma abused as she stood in line at a store.
I was at a Target, and right behind me a gentleman said, go back to your country, you need to learn English. Little did he know that I speak, English. I'm also a college graduate. It hurts because a part of me just wants to tell them, I wish you knew who I was.
From mosques being burned down to people being attacked for just looking like they might be Muslim. The alleged case here where an Indian man was killed in Kansas. In the words of one of Shahruk's abusers,
it's a bad time to be Muslim. It's a bad time. Yeah, it's a horrible time.
The question is, why are we seeing an increase in attacks just like these right now? And of course, many are going to say Donald Trump. He's to blame. We had all of that rhetoric during the election campaign. We've had the travel ban. Many will say he is stoking this. But then, of course, you have to remember that there was an increase in the number of attacks against Muslims in the United States following the San Bernardino shootings here, even as far back as 9/11, which then raises the point, is Donald Trump really to blame, or is Donald Trump merely being blamed?
After then candidate Trump's Muslim ban announcement on December 7th, 2015. In the next 5 days, we saw an 87.5% increase in hate crimes against Muslims.
Well, those are official numbers from experts who study this day in, day out. That's not to say President Trump is necessarily responsible.
So there appears to be a correlation. We don't know if it's a cause yet, but there appears to be a correlation between political rhetoric and hate crime.
But it raises the question, could Trump do more to help stop it all? Here's what history tells us.
Following the 9/11 attacks, hate crime spiked. 6 days after those attacks, though, President George Bush spoke at the Islamic Center of D.C., speaking of tolerance, and hate crimes dropped 66% in the next 6 days.
For those being targeted right now, in 2017, it is becoming a way of life.
My biggest issue has become being visibly Muslim. I'm finding it harder and harder to keep the hijab on, which is extremely unfortunate because I've had it on for 20 years, most of my life. I don't leave after dark if I don't need to. I make sure I always park the car where there's a lot of people around, even though my experience has been people won't necessarily step in and do what's right. So you have to fight for yourself. It's scary. You never know.
Yet amidst it all, they say they do have hope, finding it wherever they can.
As much as there is all this negativity and, we're talking about all this anti-Muslim rhetoric, I do want to say that I am hopeful because in the Quran it reminds us with every hardship there's ease, comes ease. So out of all this, hate that Trump is, all this hate he's spewing, I've noticed so many people coming together.
It is the togetherness, the support that keeps them going every uncertain day. Phil Lavelle, CGTN, San Bernardino, California.